But the protocol for tonight's event is that all questions will be written down. There's no shouting out. If you shout out, you will be warned, and then if you continue to do that, you'll be asked to leave. Why? Because we want to keep this a smooth going forum where most of the questions are being able to be answered professionally and completely by the candidates, okay? And when people yell out for one reason or another, it's disruptive. So I hope everyone will agree to that, and then it'll go more smoothly. Secondly, the candidates will be timed. There are questions that are for all the candidates, like how do you feel your role, leadership will be important to, the city. And then each one will get a chance to answer within 1 minute. But if it's just for mayor candidates, or just for treasurer candidates, they can expound a little bit more and they'll have 2 minutes. I will be in the back, and at half time, I'll show them a yellow card, meaning they're running out of time, and then a red card that means a full stop. So that we can continue on and more questions can be answered. Carolyn?
If we have questions, what do we do?
Good question. She has questions about questions. Okay, so we have had some cards at the beginning of when you first walked in. I also have cards, and Kathleen and Teresa have cards and pens. So all you need to do if you have a question and you haven't already done it, just raise your hand, we'll come to get it, give you the materials, and we'll also pick it up and bring it to our moderator, Skip Coomer, which I failed to introduce, but I'll do that in a minute. And Skip is a local businessman who owns Coomer Winery on Mission. And he's agreed to be our moderator as an objective person for our group, so it's not just, we're trying to include all of the community that we can. So any other questions about the format of this meeting? Yes?
Hold applause.
Oh yes, please hold applause. Thank you. So if a candidate answers something, great, but at the very end, after they do their final wrap-up, then we can apply, okay? I'd like to introduce the candidates. And over here is Ryan Kime. He's the current deputy mayor, and he is also the District 3 Council representative who started in November 2020. Oh, in November 2020, he was appointed to deputy mayor. In 2019, he was appointed to the Oceanside City Council to complete the last 2 years of the council seat vacated as a result of the transition into district elections. He graduated from Cal State San Marcos with a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science. Deputy Mayor Kime has spent a majority of his career in service to the citizens of Oceanside, beginning as a lifeguard at the City of Oceanside Pools during college. 2004, he served on the Police and Fire Commission until he joined the Oceanside Police Department in 2006. While with Oceanside Police Department, otherwise known as OPD, Ryan worked with numerous assignments, including the neighborhood policing team, the gang suppression unit, and partnering with various community groups throughout the city to address quality of life issues and often require creative and time-intensive solutions. He also had the opportunity to work with students in vulnerable neighborhoods to prioritize education and extracurricular healthy activities. After suffering an on-duty injury, Ryan transferred from active duty to become the Public Information Officer for OPD. He then had the opportunity to join San Diego Sheriff's Department as the Public Affairs Director and primary spokesperson. As a member of the Sheriff's Executive Management Team, he oversaw the Department of Media Relations, and one of the largest sheriff's departments in the country. Deputy Mayor Kime's priorities for the City of Oceanside are enhancing public safety for all residents by strengthening community relationships, increasing and diversifying the economic opportunities for the city, reducing traffic congestion. Ryan has been an Oceanside resident for over 30 years and lives in District 3 with his wife and daughter. This is Ryan Kime right here. Esther Sanchez is the incumbent candidate for mayor. She was born and raised in Oceanside, part of the 5-generation Oceanside family. Mayor Esther Sanchez is the first woman mayor of Oceanside. She is the daughter of an immigrant and won a scholarship to Brown University, where she received her BA in Urban Studies. Esther then attended UC College of Law, San Francisco, earning her JD and passing the bar in 1986. Esther worked as an attorney for the San Diego County for 20 years as a deputy public defender. Mayor Sanchez has been instrumental in preserving the character of the city's iconic neighborhoods and reducing crime via a very positive, systematic approach. This includes adding additional and better paid and trained community policing-based officers, as well as advocating for after-school and community programming for youth, families, and seniors. This includes the supporting the construction of the El Corazon Senior Center and Aquatic Center and New Park Site 1, which is part of El Corazon, including a dog park, 12 pickleball courts, is scheduled for groundbreaking in the fall of 2025. Her advocacy for addressing the city's homeless and affordable housing issues led to the creation of the city's first homeless shelter, as well as this past year's restart of building 100% affordable project with this month's historic innovative Green Bar Village with wraparound services, ribbon cutting, adding over 1,000 affordable housing units. Mayor Sanchez is also instrumental in gaining support from North Coastal cities for the Rebeach pilot project, as well as establishing a positive relationship with the Coastal Commission, where she served as commissioner. Mayor Sanchez is on the San Diego Transportation Committee, winning support for the downtown Cricket Go Side electric transit shuttle pilot project, with another shuttle project to begin next year. And now we have Phyllis. Phyllis Dominguez is a candidate for Oceanside City Treasurer. She's a longtime member of Oceanside, over 20, member or resident?
Resident.
Okay, resident of Oceanside over 22 years, and a small business owner. Her children grew up here and was very involved with their schools. She was on the PTA and volunteered on-site council and in the classroom because her children's education was very important. She is running because Oceanside has changed over the last few years and now really needs a more professional and experienced city treasurer. She has met all the city's new requirements for this position and have a letter from the city saying that I am qualified to be city treasurer. She has a master's degree in business administration with additional certificates in financial planning, project management, and investor relations. She worked in investor relations at a Fortune 500 company. She also has many years of experience managing people and projects, often under challenging circumstances. She's currently the treasurer for a small non-for-profit organization. Now it's time for her to use her education and experience to support her community by restoring trust and integrity to the treasurer's office. Okay, and last but certainly not least is Jack Fernandes. He's also a candidate for treasurer. He's the son of an immigrant who's led the Civil War. Led Civil War?
A Civil War.
Civil
In
War.
Angola, longest standing recent Civil War.
Okay, thank you. And grew up in San Diego. He was the first in his family to attend college, earning degrees from Claremont, McKenna, and UCLA Law. After passing the bar and real estate broker exams, Jack co-founded Machine Bio and Regenica Biosciences, focusing on medical defense. He has served on the boards of Volunteers in Medicine and Cabrillo National Monument, where he is recognized as a taxpayer advocate for veterans. Jack lives in Loma Alta neighborhood of Oceanside. So with that, I'd like to start our questioning. Skip, are you ready?
I certainly am.
Okay, I'm going to give him back the mic after I pick up all my to-dos.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to try and lead this along. I've received all of your cards. I'm sure I'll get some more. So the format, as Jane said, is if it's a question to one of the two positions only, then you'll each have you'll have 2 minutes. And if it's directed to everybody, you'll have 1 minute. Then obviously in your bio, some of these basic questions were answered, but let's just give you each a shot. We'll start at the other end. How long have you been a resident of Oceanside? Yes.
You want to start with me?
And it might be appropriate for the first couple of questions, start with your name if you would, so everyone can get a feel for your name.
Sure. Yeah, so thank you so much for having us and for moderating this. So my name is Jack Fernandes. I'm running for city treasurer. Sorry, I'm going to take that off the mic. I've been a resident here in Loma Alta neighborhood, as mentioned, for the past 6 months. Oceanside has been my downtown for years. After law school at UCLA in 2019, I moved to North County consciously. And yeah, I'll pass it on so I don't take the whole night, but
Thank you.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Phyllis Dominguez, and I'm also running for Oceanside City Treasurer. I have been an Oceanside resident for over 22 years now. We raised our family here. In fact, we moved to Oceanside because we thought it would be a better place to raise our kids. And as stated, it's been a wonderful environment for them. They're all grown now, and hopefully they'll stay in Oceanside. Again, thanks to everybody for coming here.
Esther?
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mayor Esther Sanchez, born and raised in Oceanside. You asked the question, how long have I lived in Oceanside? So I would say, oh, and by the way, I'm an honorary founding member of OCNA. I was there, I helped you guys, and it was wonderful to have this advocacy group get started, and you prevailed, so it's congratulations to you. I've lived in Oceanside for, I would say, about 50 years. I went away to college, came back, and went to law school, came back. There were times when I was assigned as a deputy public defender to the South Bay and then downtown, so pretty much I would live near where I was assigned, and finished my career as a deputy public defender, having worked with prosecutors, judges, probation officers, definitely police officers, and trying to figure out a better way, a more systemic way of addressing some of the crime that was happening in Oceanside. It was a lot in 2000.
Thank you, Esther. Ryan?
I'm Ryan Kiem, I'm current deputy mayor, District 3 council member. So my family moved down to Oceanside from San Juan Capistrano when I was 2 years old. My dad was a firefighter, so I come from a family of public safety personnel, but Orange County then was very expensive, and so we moved down here when I was 2, and I've been lucky enough to be here ever since.
Fantastic. All right, so someone wanted to know, if you would, we'll start down here, Ryan. Who is your largest campaign contributor thus far, and and what do you think they expect from you?
Great question. So for direct contributions, I would say our max that we can take is $5,500 from a single source to our campaign accounts, and I've had multiple donors that have done that at $5,500 across the spectrum, which has been great. We've really gotten a lot of support for this campaign. One of the first ones, my first maximum donation was from our Police Officers Association, and they expect me to support them. They expect me to prioritize public safety. They expect me to keep our city safe, and when they do the right things for the right reasons, give them that support they need. And I've worked with them for years. I'm lucky enough to have the Fire Association support as well. They know what to expect of me, and so and that's what the challenge with campaign donations is. If you're gonna, I'm getting yellow.
That's just half. That's just half time.
That's half, okay. So, but there's also independent expenditures, and there's been sizable independent expenditures to my campaign. And independent expenditures are ones that we're not contacted about and we have no control over. And those have also been from a wide group of donors. And for me, I think it really shows the desire for change of leadership in our city and the direction we've gone for decades, and where a wide group of people want to see the city go. And it's very humbling.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. And I feel it's incumbent upon me to interrupt after one more sentence has gone by, just for fairness here. All right, so go ahead. Mayor.
Thank you, Skip. So the question is, what is the largest donation that I've received, and who is it from, and what am I getting for it, basically? I think is, what do they
expect from you?
Yes, what do they expect? And I know I just got a $1,000 donation from Joan Bachman, and we all know Joan Bachman and what she believes in, which is really a better Oceanside. trees. I mean, she's all about a better climate action plan and ensuring a better environmental situation. I have not had any independent expenditures. I am not for sale, and I think that's why I think the public really supports me, because I support them. I believe in our community. I believe in our residents, and that's why people have been calling me the people's mayor. I really have enjoyed working, and I meet every single day, night and day. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis?
Okay, thank you. So, as city treasurer, I am running a grassroots campaign, which means there's a lot of small donors. I go out and I talk to people, I go to house parties, people listen to me, they ask me questions, and if they like what I'm saying, they will give me a donation. My largest contribution was $1,000, and that was for my brother. Because if your brother can't support you, why should anybody else? And that's pretty much it.
Okay, Jack?
Was he the one who was listed from Canada?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So I have not taken any money out of the country. I never will, because as I know, if you're out of the country, you actually can't donate. That's an FPPC violation. So I'm really proud to say that I am an actual small dollar campaign. Please look this up. Open secrets, transparency. That's what I want to bring to the treasurer office. That's why this is such an important conversation for us to have. The average donation in my campaign is $100, okay?
The question was, who was your largest?
My largest single donor to the campaign, we'll have to check the numbers. I believe that I also have a $1,000 campaign contribution that hopefully will come in this week, who is somebody named Jeff Jackson, who's a middle school football coach of mine. And aside from that, yeah, the average donation is like $100 in my
You
campaign.
answered the question. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm going to work into a mayor question, and I'm going to start the first one to mayors. We'll start here, and then Esther, you'll start the second question. We'll just give everyone a chance to follow each other. So, people are concerned about seniors and our mobile home park situation, and someone is concerned that one of them may shut down. And what will we do to house those seniors should that happen? Yes, it's you, Ryan.
So that is a challenge in our city. Our city controls one part. We have our ordinance for rent control on mobile home parks. But what you hear from many of these mobile home parks are some of the park owners make it more difficult for residents to stay in their units. And so whether we can legally do something as far as making ordinances different than if we can make sure and work with our different parks, and whether it's the resident-owned or the resident HOAs, is to make sure that we don't have our rent-controlled spaces going away, and that they're getting, the words I use are harassed or pushed out of these parks. And I mean, that's untenable to have seniors lose their housing. And while we all worked, 5 of us unanimously, to build these 100% affordable units, we just approved one down the street on Coast Highway for veterans and seniors. That's not okay, and that's not gonna fix it if these parks shut down. So we need to be creative, work with our city attorney's office and figure out what exactly is happening, make sure the parks are maintained, make sure there's nothing, make sure there's no law being broken that we can enforce, and make it a priority.
Esther?
Thank you very much. I think everyone knows that I'm a big advocate for our mobile home park residents, in that when a council decided in their infinite wisdom to shut down rent control, I worked with the residents to do a referendum. I wrote the referendum, and we went out, and boy, talk about great Panthers, 2/3 voted against getting rid of rent control. So I'm really very proud of our community here in Oceanside. There are a lot of things that we can do. I know that one of the issues is the concern about subdivision. Well, the council can actually stop that. If there is a survey, and the survey says, for the residents, no, hell no, don't have to do it. In fact, the council can vote, no, we shall not permit subdivision. The other thing that we can do is what City of Chula Vista did. and does. And that is the local laws, right? And that's rent control. And then there are state laws called state residency laws. We can actually pass ordinances that resemble what there are at the state level and enforce our laws here locally. So we have a lot that we can do to protect our mobile home park residents. And I'm talking about seniors, veterans, and families. We can do this. And on top of that, we will continue. I definitely, as an advocate, will continue building affordable housing, especially for seniors, because that is the largest group that's going to be at the edge. And we've got to, as a community, as a city, we've got to do everything possible to ensure affordable housing.
Thank you, Esther. Well, we have another population that's problematic and it has to be dealt with. I know the city's been dealing with it for a while now. Someone asked if you would support a homeless parking lot or / camping in Oceanside, and if so, where? And I think you could extrapolate your general views on how to deal with the homeless from that.
Oh, okay.
You start with you, Esther.
Start with me, right?
Yes, starting with you.
So, yes, we actually had an RFP go out for a parking lot, so that, because we have several people who are living in their cars, including students, right, and families. So there was a decision to look at, it's a place near the COC, French Fields parking lot. I think it was like 25, 30 parking spaces, maybe more. So the city was looking for a nonprofit partner to run it. And basically it's to, ensure that we have porta potties, maintain lights, basically ensuring that, security as well. And so, yes, we definitely, out there near this city operating center, there is a place that we can do. And if that goes well, then maybe we can find another place to do it as well. Thank you.
So, first, I do support having a safe parking lot, but it's not just about having a safe parking lot, and just like our homeless shelter, it's not about having one, it's about how you manage it. And we in Oceanside, this has been our challenge for years, and being an officer, I dealt with this daily. We have for so long had all the services in North County, or many of them. Escondido has those challenges too, so we'll get homeless individuals from across the state that will come here, and with our budget, we're the second most median income beach city, so we can't be the only solution in North County or San Diego County. We need to be part of it and hold our neighbors accountable. But when you have to address anything that will come with a safe parking lot, cleanliness, safety, all of these, and you have to be very responsible about it, so it's how you run it. It's putting it in the right location, and then another challenge is having the proper management group or service that will do it. So Jewish Family Services has done it throughout the county with varying levels of success, but it's in the fine details about making sure that it is not a detriment to the surrounding area, that makes sure that this isn't only our burden to share, and that's what we do with all of homelessness. Is I really want to focus on Oceanside unhoused residents and having compassion for everyone, but realizing our city alone cannot be the main provider in the entire county. And so I think that's something we all need to be unified on council and making sure that we have the resources to address this problem properly.
Excellent. Okay, question for everyone now. We'll start with Jack. The question generally pertains to what are your aspirations further politically? Should you win this position, do you have future aspirations?
Absolutely not. I think that politicians are repulsive, quite frankly. No offense, Mayor Sanchez, no offense, Council Member Ryan. I think it's important to mention that these two, all respect to them, one of my opponents here is endorsed by Mayor Sanchez. I'm proudly not endorsed by anyone at this table right now, and I think it's important because you have to be independent. You have to be for the people. If you're running for a people-led position, right, you can't have aspirations to go beyond Oceanside. And someone asked me this the other day, because I know a lot of you in here, I recognize your faces from our ground game. We're knocking on doors trying to meet people out in the community, because this position as treasurer, as mayor, as council, it belongs to all of you in this room. It belongs to me as a resident too. So the short answer is absolutely not. No further political aspirations. In the short term, my dream is to be able to go to Mary's over here, to go to Cafe 101, and to see you all and have you look at me and say, I'm proud of you, Jack. I'm proud of you because you represented me here in
All
Oceanside.
right,
when
thank
no
you
one
very
else did.
much. Phyllis?
Okay, so I do not have further aspirations. I am running for city treasurer because since I've lived here, I've seen a lot of history in the city treasurer's office. And it took me a bit to get up the courage, but I thought, I've got the background, I've got the education, I can do this. I can be a better city treasurer for the city. I am of the community, I attend council meetings, I talk to people, I go to the commission hearings. I want to represent Oceanside. My background is numbers. I like numbers. The treasurer is an amazing fit for me, and so I really look forward to being your city treasurer. And again, transparency, accountability, come knock on my door if you elect me, and I'd love to chat with you and tell you the state of our finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you very much, and before I answer for myself, I want to say that I am very proud of my endorsement of Phyllis Dominguez. I didn't know Phyllis, I knew Dan, her husband, and he said, you know what, I want you to meet my wife and, you know, for yourself decide. This is the first time the city council is actually having qualifications required for candidates for the treasurer, so she's awfully, really, really,
Right.
and for me, I'm not going anywhere. I love Oceanside. I've been here on the council for 20 years as a council member and 4 years as mayor, and I love being your mayor. I love being able to resolve issues. That's what I did for 20 years as the deputy public defender, working with, you know, everybody at the courthouse. And I was able to do it, and I've been able to do it here in Oceanside for 24 years, and I'm very proud of the work we've done together. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ryan?
No, I have zero desire to do that, and it's for a very specific reason. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
For a very specific reason. Local politics is very different than when you go to the state or federal level where you have to join a team and you have to vote one way or another on issues. We're here, we're dealing with the homeless crisis in the parking lot that we just discussed. We're dealing with our beach problem. It's simple things to fix the city I grew up in. I go to Washington, D.C. I have gone yearly for our legislative trip. I'm very happy to come home after that 1 week. I can't imagine I have a 12-year-old girl. I'm not going to leave her all week and go back home, and go to DC and miss those most important years of her life. I also don't think I need to be in this position for too long either. So I was happy to put term limits in 2020, and they were adopted by the voters. So we did a maximum of 3 terms. This is not a career, and I think we need that change. We need different viewpoints. I need to move on and get a real job. I think that applies to all of us, and you need to have those different viewpoints. I have a younger generation. I have different challenges than my daughter's going to have. And I have different challenges than the current mayor has, and it needs to change.
Thank you very much. Phyllis, you brought up background, so I'll let the two of you, starting with you, Phyllis, share with us your qualifications for being this very important position for the city.
Okay, so my qualifications for city treasurer are, I have a master's degree in business. I've also taken additional classes and training and used financial planning, project management, and investor relations. I worked in investor relations at a Fortune 500 company, and where I dealt with pension funds, I dealt with institutional investors, and the treasurer job would basically be on the other side of the equation. But also, I have a long history of managing people and projects. Prior to moving into finance, I worked in electric utility, and I generated electricity. I kept the people safe, I kept the community safe, and so again, I'm used to leading projects and leading people, and I think all these are useful for the city treasurer position. Thank you.
Jack?
So first, don't count this toward my time, but I'd like, if none of us are career politicians and none of us are doing this to advance, let's all pledge not to take a pension from the taxpayers as elected officials, and let's all pledge to donate 10% of our salary back to the community. So I'll make that pledge right now. I don't think anyone will join me. But,
Jack, I'm not sure this is within the theme of
fair.
this.
I think it is because you're
So,
saying
well, let me explain
qualifications.
something to you. My understanding of this is they wanted to have an opportunity to ask questions of the candidates and hear their answers. I'm not sure that they wanted, am I wrong, what's your position on this?
No, basically your time is running out.
Fair.
You don't get extra time for whatever.
This is what happens when you ask
I'm sorry, I'm
politicians
sorry,
not
I'm
to
sorry.
take a salary. Everyone freaks out.
Okay, so your time is up, and we can move to the next one.
So I agree. So my qualifications, just quickly, because I'm running for treasurer against Phyllis. So I'm the only candidate who has professional investment experience. And investor relations is not being an investor. She said other side of the equation. I've managed institutional capital. I will safeguard our community funds. I'm out here knocking on your door because our tax dollars belong to the community. They should be reinvested into our
I
community.
felt that it was
Thank you, Jack.
important, I felt that it was important that they actually heard your qualifications, but I would just admonish you that if you have a narrative before answering the question, then, I'm sort
It's
of
part of the
limited.
time.
I've got to cut you off here.
I have a JD.
But that's good,
passed the bar.
we got it.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna have materials that you can hand out, send to people and stuff like that. All right, I'm gonna move on here. Most of the questions, of course, are for the mayors because they have more policy, impact. Well, we've got something about sand beaches and the quality of life and about replenishing our beaches and what is your vision for that? I don't even remember who started first last time. I'm going to go ahead and have Ryan start first here. This is an important issue for our...
It's an extremely important issue. It's one of my most important things we've dealt with so far. So I was appointed in 2019. In 2020, I went to Washington, D.C. to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers, who was responsible for building the harbor that stops a lot of our sand flow. They were ordered to do a project and get a solution figured out in the year 2000. 20 years later, they did nothing. When I met with them, they essentially told me we're going to do nothing and there's not much you can do about it. So we came back and we started pushing. And we told staff to come out with recommendations. They brought a growing project forward. And that is where we, for this project, our residents deserve sand on the beach. For me, I'm not as concerned about how we do it. We have to get something that will get passed by the Coastal Commission that we can pay for and it's actually gonna work. And this is where the mayor and I diverged greatly. She's been on the council, and I have to be very blunt here, and I'm be very respectful, but on the council since the year 2000, while this problem has languished. When I brought the problem in 2020, she opposed it vociferously. Instead of offering another solution, her technique, instead of partnering and saying, let's do this, was to go to every city south of us, tell them to do a resolution against our project while not offering alternatives, and essentially stop the project. And that's what you're gonna hear, is that she stopped it and that she had a new path. With those resolutions, we went back to the planning and said, any idea, what can we do to get this going, which culminated in the Re-Beach project, which I have been working on daily since then, and it's been a challenge. But I need all of us, and luckily the last iteration passed council 5-0. If we're gonna get beaches, 2/3 of our beaches are gone. High tide or low tide, it's one of our biggest issues in the city. If we're gonna get beaches, we need a united council to actually deliver and do something for the city instead of talk about it for 24 years and say in years 24 to 28, we're gonna fix it. You need to do something now and show results. Our residents deserve that.
Esther.
Thank you very much. I was elected in 2000, and so the first thing was that I was on the Sandag shoreline preservation, and so Sandag wanted to see if they could do a regional sand replenishment every 5 years. So we did the first two, learned a lot from the first one, did the second one. But as we were doing the second one, Solana Beach ended up raising their TOT because they wanted to do sand replenishment in between as well. And that's what they came over and said, hey, Oceanside, this is a really good thing that you should do, is raise your TOT, and that way you can have sand replenishment projects more often and keep your sand on your beach. So I tried to raise that. I couldn't get a second. Sandag was not able to get other cities involved, as a regional. A lot of people come out to Oceanside and enjoy it's not just for our residents and tourists, but also other places in the county and Riverside and all. So the next thing was, bottom line is a shoreline study that the Army Corps was supposed to do They wanted us to pay $1 million towards it, and our council said, no, it's just restarting just now. As to Rebeach, bottom line is that I supported the $5 million set aside for the ARPA funds, to get sand on our beach. Not one grain of sand has been put on our beach, and we're almost done with those $5 million. What I said to council and to staff, we've got to think outside the box. We know that the coastal commission is never gonna support groins. Neither will the cities to the south of us, because that basically migrates down south.
What is that term? What is that term? Groins? What was that?
Groins,
How do you spell that? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be.
Groins.
Okay. And what does that mean?
They're J's.
They're
Okay,
basically
thank
long
you.
walls, 2 football fields long, 14 to 18, a field of that. And so I knew that the cities would not be supporting that. So unfortunately, can I take the time that, okay, thank you. Unfortunately, my colleague here pissed off everybody south of us, and they passed the resolutions. I did not ask them to pass the resolutions. They did it. With Rebeach, I got them to come back from the extreme that my colleague here pushed them towards, got them to support Oceanside, got the coastal commission here.
Since she's
got
talking our
them-
time,
got them
I need to rebut shortly.
Oceanside.
Hold on.
Our first pilot project was 4 short groins, and Mayor Sanchez went to every city south of us and said there's gonna be 20, it's gonna stop your sand flow. That's not the case.
Okay.
All I
Yeah,
ask for,
right.
Wait, hold on,
Mayor, is
hold
you
on.
bring a
We're
solution
definitely-
to us.
we're
that
definitely
we can
not.
do that.
I did
We're
not
gonna
say
turn
that.
this
I
into
did
a
not say
debate.
that.
We're not gonna turn this into a debate.
Yes, thank
I'm
you.
not qualified to deal with that. I need a second. I just want your substance.
I did not say that.
So, hold on, hold on.
I did not say that.
Is the right shot?
You made
Piss
a
them
comment.
off.
This is the last time we're gonna do this. You made a comment. You made a comment. You had a response to that. You said that, so,
Yeah, it's not true. I did not go city. Okay.
all right, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on to something related. Dog beaches. Everyone seems to want a dog beach, and they feel like the city council has not been responsive. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's just the people I talk to. So, would you mind each, starting with you, Esther, tell us the status of dog beaches, or dog beach, etc. What's your opinion?
We're actually not in a position to do a dog beach. We're under the Clean Water Act, and we've got a lot of bacteria happening at the mouth of the San Luis River. Plus, we have hardly, there's certain times of the year that we don't have a whole lot of beach. So this is something that's gonna have to wait until we have, sand on our beaches, and we have, not just for humans, but, for the furries. But for right now, we can't.
All right, your opinion,
So,
Brian?
we feel similarly on this. Our challenge right now with no beaches, essentially south of the pier, if we had a dog beach, really the only one in North County, we have limited place where our residents can go to the beach only, and to be the focal point of North County Dog Beach would be a challenge. So I have encouraged those supporters of the dog beach to partner with the advocacy groups for our beaches. If we build big, healthy beaches border to border, and Carlsbad wants to be part of the solution as well, and we can spread that out and find a reasonable spot that can pass the water quality issues and those, I would be more open to it. But at this point, with our lack of sandy beaches and the need for our residents to use them, we're just not in a viable position to do that.
All right, thank you. Phyllis? What do you think?
Dog beaches?
No, we don't respectfully don't care what the treasurer thinks about dog beaches. It's just like, I don't care what you think about abortion, because you can't make a difference.
That's not true.
Okay, I'm starting to light it up a little bit here, folks. Make it interesting. All right. So, Phyllis, you can start this. What do you think is the most important issue that the next treasurer will face?
I think the most important issue right now is rebuilding credibility of the position and rebuilding the public trust. There's been a lot of controversy in the city treasurer's office, and so some of that public trust has been lost. So as a means of doing that, I've been talking to people and saying, oh, what do you want from your city treasurer? They said, we want somebody accountable. We want somebody who's going to be there for us. We want to have somebody that will listen to our concerns. So again, the main thing is to rebuild this credibility. with both the other departments at City Hall and with the City Council. The City Treasurer is an independent entity because it is an elected position and you basically answer to you, the people. So it's very important that the City Treasurer has the credibility to advise the City Council on financial matters. And so to me, that's one of the primary focuses of this, because unless you've got the trust and credibility, all your actions are going to be called into question. And because of the primary focus of City Treasurer is to safeguard the city's investments, you need to have that trust. You need to have the other departments behind you. You need to have the City Council believe in you. And so that's why I think it's one of the more significant problems.
Thank you, Jack. What do you think is the biggest problem that you face if you should, or the next treasurer faces?
I think letting people know what the treasurer is all about. It is not just an actuarial position. The history of the treasurer at Oceanside goes back to 1888. We're supposed to be the citizens' watchdog. That is the moniker of the position. You don't gain faith or trust in the people and act as their watchdog by getting endorsed by a mayor that you're supposed to check on. Your job is to be the one who checks up on city council on behalf of the people, who speaks up to the mayor on behalf of the people. If the numbers don't add up and the numbers don't lie, you need to be prepared with investment acumen and with the credibility of the community to ask the questions that are going to really make a difference. Holding truth to power has become kind of a trite phrase. What holding truth to power means is talking to the people who actually live here and making sure that you represent their interests no matter who endorsed you as mayor. Okay, we can't have judge, jury, and executioner having the ability to legislate and then transfer the funds and authorize expenditures. That's just not what our foundational principles lie upon in Oceanside. We need a watchdog. That's what the treasurer is.
All right, Jack, and then Phyllis. Tell us exactly what the duties of the treasurer are. Exactly what the duties are. Not platitudes, but what it is, please.
Okay, so I'm going to give everybody an easy mnemonic. Safe, Lions, Roar. Okay, SLR. Safety, liquidity, and return. If you prioritize any of those at the expense of others, our $550 million tax fund goes into the drain. You are the watchdog. That means you report on the finances and the state of the financial health of Oceanside to the people. That means you have a communicative responsibility in addition to that financial one. And last but certainly not least, you have to ensure that you are overseeing the investment managers who manage our funds. You don't actually pull the trigger by yourself as the treasurer, but what you do is you confer with, for instance, Chandler Asset Management, who, if I'm elected, I don't know if we're going to be working with them forever, we'll see. But your job is to confer, report, and then advise.
All right, thank you. Phyllis, do you want to add to that, or from your own perspective?
No, certainly I'll add to that. So, again, we're preserving principle. We're safeguarding all our hard-earned tax money. We're ensuring liquidity, and that the city's got the money it needs for when it needs it. Return on investment. Our investments are all short-term. They're all in bonds. They're very safe instruments. And we do confer with an outside asset management company called Chandler. But again, conferring is not, we've listened to their advice, but still we ultimately make the decision. Also in that equation is the city finance director. It's kind of a three-legged stool. All of us have a piece and part to put into this. Chandler does the actual investing. The city treasurer oversees the investments and monitors the investment side. And then the city finance director, who has an accounting background, looks at the city finances. And so together, we work, and together, it is a collaborative effort. We work to make sure that the city has the money and has the funds. And so that's essentially the job of the city treasurer, is not only to be the watchdog, which is the primary focus, but also we're advising the city council. And if you're being endorsed by members of the community, it means they know you, they respect you. It doesn't mean that you always have to agree with them. I know many of you are married, and you always listen to your spouse. You might listen to them, but you don't always have to agree. So we're independent, we only answer to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to respond to that, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a strange analogy. I
Oh,
personally
wait, hold on.
don't believe
I'm sorry.
endorsements are marriages. That's an interesting
You'll
way of
forgive
looking
me,
at it.
guys, I'm trying to get 5 steps ahead here. You both answered the question, Jack, there's no reason for you to continue, my apologies. Let's talk about, with the mayors, let's talk about our quality of life here and the Oceanside spirit. This is the most local-centric community I've ever been involved in, and I happen to like it. But how do you feel? I'm going to start with Esther. How do you feel? How would you continue to keep the spirit of Oceanside alive, for lack of a better term?
So when I decided to run, it was because I saw that there were certain neighborhoods that did not have a good quality of life. We had really poorly paid officers, and you could tell in the community, there was a whole lack of community policing in terms of philosophy. So quality of life has been very, very important to me. That is, for me, not just in one neighborhood, but the entire city. So that is really what I am most excited about, is ensuring that I address every single neighborhood's quality of life, keeping the character of our neighborhoods, ensuring that we have equal access to police, fire, to parks and recreation, to everything, all the services that we have in the city of Oceanside. So for me, that is really what I, really have a goal to. I get a lot of calls, I get a lot of emails, people have concerns about this or that, and I go and I make sure that they are listened to. Be it a pothole here, or someone that's sleeping on the corner that's homeless. Let's make contact. Let's see if we can get them to the shelter. If not, if they don't want to agree to that, then let's just let them move on. But it's about everybody's quality of life for me. I love Oceanside. I feel like I really am like a cheerleader for the city. And let me ask you this: 2024. That difference. Aren't you really proud of where we are now since 2000? Our crime rate down, our quality of life up. Yes, we are dealing with an issue that every city is since the COVID, especially homeless, but we're gonna also lift that issue as well. Thank you.
Brian, how do you intend to keep the character of Oceanside?
Character and quality of life. So as far as the character, Oceanside is very unique. It's why I've stayed here. It was the most livable beach city. I bought my house 13 years ago, and as a single police officer, I can't afford it now. We have to push back on responsible development. When you see some of the density and height downtown, that's there. We got to worry about keeping our neighborhood here, South O, and making sure we keep that the way I grew up going to Oceanside. And we've seen a lot of changes. I started as a police officer in 2005. And when the mayor says we've made big progress, we really have. From 2005, downtown wasn't a place you would go necessarily and take your family out to dinner on a Saturday night. I spent a lot of nights down there as a police officer. We had, between 2008-9 to 2017-18, we reduced violent gang crime by 60% in our city. It was huge. It took a lot of work, and it took a lot of creative policing. And that's our number one job on council, is to keep our city safe and keep it enjoyable for our families. And I took a lot of pride in that. I think it's one of the most important things we've done. Again, I'll reiterate this, our number one job as local elected leaders is to keep our city safe. And with the challenges you see across the state of California, it's our job to keep a common sense bubble in Oceanside. And it's a challenge. We have different state laws, whether it's Prop 47 that reclassified a lot of felonies as misdemeanors and made it tough for our police officers to do their job. We have to be creative and figure out ways to continue to address those issues and make sure our residents feel safe. But it is, and that's part of keeping Oceanside's character, keeping it safe. But you have to balance that with development and growth and economic investment and business. And it's a tough job, and we've got our work cut out for us in the coming years.
All right, Ryan, first, let's go back to the concept of density downtown. There were a lot of questions on that subject. Do you think we've gone too far in the general plan with respect to density downtown? Were there any flaws with it? What would you try and modify if you were elected mayor?
So it's not the general plan, it's not too far. It's what has happened is the Sacramento legislature, the state assembly and state senate, with the governor signing off on these density bonus bills essentially the last 5 or 6 years, has allowed developers to come in, add a certain amount of on-site affordable units, and when they do that, they get to add a lot more density, and then they get to request waivers. So that's the important part about these density bonus laws that are forced onto every city in the state. And when these waivers, you use an important one, parking. So if the city would require 2 parking spots per unit, which is critical because we don't have effective mass transit yet. Not many people in this room can take the Sprinter or Coaster to work or school, take their kids to practice. It's not feasible. But if you're within a half mile of transit, a developer doesn't have to provide any parking spaces, 0 spaces, and the city doesn't have the latitude because of these state laws that say no. And so I was happy I authored a letter to the governor last year. And it was signed by 4 of our council members, including the mayor, that pushed back, and all these problems that these density bonus laws are supposed to solve. One of the big problems was affordable housing. The density bonus laws have been on the books for 5 years. Has housing gotten more or less affordable? Has homelessness gone down or up? Housing has gotten more expensive, homelessness has gone up. These state laws, they're not doing their jobs, and in the meantime, our local cities are losing all of their ability to plan our city the way that we know. Instead, you have a handful of elected leaders in the state assembly and state senate, one in particular from San Francisco, who's planning all of our cities for us, 40 million people, and it's an abject failure. And every city needs to push back and say, this is what we want in this part of our city, this is what fits, this is where density is okay, this is where it's not. And when that stuff gets taken away from us, we have to push back.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. Let's see, where am I going with this one? There were more questions coming in, even though
Do
we...
you want me to answer the same question?
Yes, I do, thank you.
He's good.
Thank you. Just point me in the right direction.
You know, we have to fight for local control. This is ridiculous, what is happening in Sacramento. We have to fight for local control. As to density, the density probably should be in the downtown because it's closer to transit, getting on the freeway to work. I mean, over 60% of our workforce travels an average of 22 miles to work alone in their cars. With this, unfortunately, we have not gotten better in terms of taking public transit. And what's basically all the transit money seem to stay in the city of San Diego, the metro area. I mean, my vision is to have a trolley in the middle of Mission Avenue, go all the way down to Mission, and then have a trolley going, between the harbor and South O. I mean, and catching that, and that's really what I would love to see here. Are we going to get there? Probably not unless we all are very, very focused. If Del Mar can get, and Carlsbad and other cities can get undergrounded tracks, City of Oceanside can do more in terms of transit. I really do believe that. But yeah, I am very much against these mandates in the state. I believe that the pendulum is going to swing to the other side because this is not sustainable at all. We are actually basically moving the requirements from the builders to the city in terms of undergrounding, in terms of landscaping and everything else, and traffic. I mean, this is creating so much traffic, and we've got to address this. We have to, but it should be downtown. I do not want it in the neighborhoods, the densities. Absolutely not. We're about protecting the neighborhoods. I'm about protecting the neighborhoods. I've been doing that for 24 years, and we just got to get together and do this. Thank you.
All right. So Esther, there were a couple of specific questions here, give you a chance to think outside of the box.
Yes.
Or address an issue outside of the box. Would you advocate for community solar projects with profits going to help low and moderate income families? And I guess, how do you look at solar in general
Solar
that
projects,
isn't
yes.
controlled by the state?
Yes, and solar is, there's unfortunately solar is not really solid right now, and that There are some materials, and, I mean, during the pandemic as well, because of the shipments not coming through and all that happened. But yeah, no, we need to continue with solar. We need to ensure that our carbon footprint is as low as possible. We actually have requirements for that, and basically that's actually good for our community to be able to have clean air, clean power. I mean, that's what we really are about here in Oceanside. I think the youth are all about it, you know, because they're always talking about the planet and ensuring, you know, what we're doing is going to be passed on. This is their inheritance, and whatever we do now is going to make it better for our youth.
Thank you. Ryan? Solar.
I definitely, I'm happy to explore options of microgrids and see how they're funded and how much energy they produce. But this is our challenge. So as we go, recently your bills changed from SDG&E, unless you opted out, to join the Clean Energy Alliance, the CEA, which the city, it's a government agency of multiple cities, and their job is to buy the power. So instead of the transmission of the power, SDG&E still does that, but this CEA now buys it. The challenge is, all of these are CEAs popping up across the state, and everyone wants to feel good and buy 100% renewable. Right now, we're not using renewable energy, and so we have to have a very diverse power supply. When energy is created, that's when it's used. And we don't have reliable storage right now, so that's the challenge. You have all of these cities scrambling to have 100% renewable, when in fact, at nighttime, those electrons that are being used are not renewable, but you get to say that you're buying 100% renewable for a lot more money, and it's just an accounting scam. And until we actually have more reliable, whether it's wind at night, if the wind doesn't blow and the sun's not shining, then you don't have renewables at night. Which is why one of the reasons that Governor Newsom, I believe, kept the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant on, which is, I think, 15% of, and this is back and half, guess, of the state's power. But we have to be very open-minded to look at a very diverse supply of power. And how we do that, I think, is going to change over the years, and that's going to go with storage. How much can we store? How effective are our solar panels and those things? But we have an open mind. Otherwise, right now, the very finite amount of renewable energy, and all of these different local energy organizations are all competing for the same one. Prices are going to rise, supply is going to be tough, and we're all going to see it. I mean, our local rates just went up 5% when they were supposed to go down 2%. So I think that's going to be an unfortunate trend going forwards.
All right, Ryan, they say all politics is local. Here's a local question. Someone wants to know about parking sticker, if it can be extended to Wisconsin. So I'm not familiar with the term, but apparently there's some plan where there's a parking sticker, probably to protect spaces for locals. I would assume someone wants to see it expanded. Do you want to address that?
Yeah. Well, there could be too. I mean, there's annual Oceanside parking pass, which is for city lots, and then we also have permit parking in different neighborhoods. So if it's expanding a permit, a specific neighborhood permit parking in a residential neighborhood, I don't have an issue, and I would like to talk to city staff and say why it wasn't included and what their concerns are, but
All right.
I don't see.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you. Well, the reason why people are seeking permit parking is because of the requirements to build these high-density buildings without enough parking. And so the idea is that for the neighborhoods, they want to protect their own parking. So if you get 75% to say yes, then you can get your own parking program and stop those from, who are in these, I guess when they move in, from parking in neighborhoods. So especially on Wisconsin, as long as it's outside of the coastal zone, we can make that happen. And it's very critical for some neighborhoods.
All right, thank you. Esther, let's talk about the airport. What's your position with the airport? Do you want it to go away? Do you want it to expand? What your thoughts on the airport in general?
You know, the airport used to be in Loma Alta, and then it moved to just south of where it is now. It moved north because of 76. So it actually moved closer to the residents, and it's now, there's a lot of development that's happening all around. Of course, we're gonna have the Wave project there. It's like maybe 700 homes, 600 to 700 homes, plus of course the boutique hotel and the commercial, and you know, of course, the glamping, right, glamping and the wave. I believe that there's gonna be a lot more. I mean, we heard about the corporate takeover of Stater Brothers, a very, very busy shopping center, and yet $53 million by an unknown developer bought it, right, to build housing. I'm kind of glad that we have the airport because that's gonna stop the limit in terms of the height. But as to it growing, I don't see how it can grow because it's in the middle of, you know, very high density area.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't see it. I don't see how it would grow. What we have to do is just make sure that the pilots are specific flight paths. You have to fly, so you're not disturbing the houses nearby. So we just gotta make sure we work with the management company and our city staff, make sure the pilots know the rules and try to do as much noise abatement as possible so it doesn't impact neighborhood quality of life.
Thank you. Ryan, someone said community policing worked well in my neighborhood and some others. What we do, if anything, to bring back community policing?
So it's not gone, and this is an important issue. I was for a majority of my time, I was a community police officer. So I worked District 1 is down here, it's everything west of the 5. I spent a lot of time here. I spent a lot of time in the east side, in Crown Heights, which is also part of District 1, the east side's a different one. But community policing, it was probably my favorite job because there's different ways to solve and prevent crime. And in some of these challenged neighborhoods, some of the best parts was you have a flag football game, you play soccer, you stop by every day and build a relationship with kids at this critical age of 11, 12, 13, when sometimes parents were at home and the only role models they have in the neighborhood is older kids that join gangs or tagging or getting into drugs. And so it's very easy to get wrapped up in that. And for us to have that ability to get out there and provide that positive experience with us. I mean, one thing I'd like to talk about this. There's so many kids from the east side of Crown Heights who can see the beach from their house or the ocean that have never been on the sand or on the beach. And for me, growing up with surfing here, how important a part of it was my life, I wanted to introduce them to that. It's shaped my whole life. And they put it at vacations I go, weekends with the family. So we brought some of our more challenged kids down to the beach. I had to go pick up a bunch of trunks from my house. We had a whole week where we opened up the lifeguard headquarters and got out and brought the foam boards, taught them how to surf, and these relationships lasted for years. You would see someone on the street years later, and they pronounce my last name, Kiem. Hey, Kiem, thanks for taking me surfing. But it's those things that build that trust and actually allow you to hopefully prevent crime and make a little difference. One of the kids that I worked with is now on our Community Advisory Commission that was implemented last year. So we see these stories. Community policing, long story short, it's very important. It's critical to building those relationships.
Esther?
Thank you very much. When I first came in, we had a high crime rate. We had officers that were paid the lowest in the county. And so what I did was I pushed through, hired, in fact, the highest paid, trained, more police officers. But in 2006, what happened? We lost an officer, Dan Besant. And just before that, I was pushing community policing. We had heard through the grapevine that something was happening. There were some within some of the gangs. They were desecrating some of the graves out in at that cemetery, yes. And it was really bad. It was really bad. So when this happened, I went out and met with the 12 the leaders of the 12 Samoan churches and got together with the Samoan churches, also the Latino community, and ensured that we were all on the same page because nobody wanted to have any more gang warfare, no more people being lost, especially our youth. And so I worked with Chief McCoy, who had just gotten in. He was just going to start the community policing. And this is what I did. I pushed through community policing, and it was phenomenal. Now, I never saw Mr. Kiem or Kiem, whatever, in the neighborhoods, which is where I was, and unfortunately we couldn't do more than 1 or 2 football games because unfortunately they got hurt, and that was an insurance issue, right?
Can we fact check
anyway,
that? This
so
is patently untrue.
excuse me, sir. So the question is, do we have to be policing right now? No, we do not. We do not. And I've asked this question, why don't we have community police?
Yes, we do.
And the reason is because we don't have enough officers. We don't have enough officers, and especially during the summertime, when we really need to have officers out there. Unfortunately, they're over here, because that's when our population grows, and that is during the tourism season. But what we do have is neighborhood officers that are basically for the quadrants. Thank you very much.
I need this, the room to hear this. We have community police officers. We have them. I see people nodding their head. It's not okay. We have to be honest.
Okay, here's because they want to know what the heck the truth is.
We have
Define community officer. Is that something other than a police officer on a police force?
There's different units in the city. So whether you have a narcotics unit or a gang unit, and we have a community policing team, otherwise known as a neighborhood policing team, that's composed of 4 officers. There's 4 different districts in the city, and we have them. They go to events regularly. I know them. I speak. I don't care if it's on the national level with debates. We owe it to you as your leaders.
That's right. So you answered the question. I get it. Esther, do you want to clarify?
Yes, I
correct
do.
what he said, and then we're going to end it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm the chair of the Eastside Neighborhood Association, and we have the officers meet with us on a monthly basis. And they have said to me, we do not have community policing anymore. It's unfortunate. We do not have, community policing is a team that regardless of there's a call, outside their quadrant or within their quadrant, they have to respond. They're not free to just stay there and be the community police officer and establish. That is a different position. Is you stay in the neighborhood and you actually establish relationships with people. You
So
don't
as I
just,
suspected, this was a definitional disagreement.
yes,
So
it is a definition.
everyone's probably
But-
correct here.
But we do have great officers. Thank you.
And that's something we can probably look up on
Thank
the
you.
site.
Yes.
I encourage everyone to
Okay.
please do your research.
Yeah. All right, so Esther,
Absolutely.
starting with you. Someone asked a question about a 2.5 acre minimum lot size. I presume that is as we travel east. And
Yes.
is that something that will continue, or is it something you see degraded because of state pressure?
There is no state pressure. Farmland, if it is designated as farmland, there does not need to be any housing there beyond what it is zoned for, 2.5 acre lots. This community in 2020 said no to changing our farmland.
Okay.
Two-thirds. And unfortunately, our city did not appeal the horrible trial decision. We would have won. I did the research. We would have won, and we would not be having housing right now where it is. But we need to preserve our green space, our open space. If we do not, there's no requirement. It would be, we'd have nothing. We don't have any water, sewer. We don't have any services out there. We really need to ensure farm to table. We really need to ensure that it's economically, environmentally sustainable. That, yes, definitely is partnering. But, if you don't want to farm anymore, there are other people who want to come in and farm. So, yes, 2.5 acre lots, we need to stay.
All right, Ryan?
Yes, so this, in 2019, I believe it was, when that project, North River Farms, came before, the mayor and I were the 2 dissenting votes on that, and it's especially frustrating when it comes before this voters, and it was defeated by quite a bit, and it was still overturned. And so and there's a handful of reasons why I didn't support that, and one of them is the infrastructure. And when we go out there, we need to build, we need to keep our open spaces, we need to build. Right now we have a plan coming forward for smart and sustainable corridors. We need to focus on building there and not in new places without infrastructure. Smart and sustainable, that's near if Sacramento's gonna mandate these things, they're not mandating out in those areas like South Moore. I want us to focus on building where our infrastructure is at.
All right, so thank you. We're almost out of time, but yes, we are out of time?
Yeah, we're out of time.
Can I give our treasurers
Yes.
one last
One
1
last
minute
question.
each? They've been patient,
Yes.
and I guess I'd like to start with Phyllis. Will you tell us in 1 minute what you would do differently than has been done should you win as treasurer?
Okay, so as treasurer, what I will do differently is I will represent the people of Oceanside. I will attend the city council meetings and report out on what the city treasurer does and the state of the finances. Currently, our incumbent does not show up to these meetings, and so unless you go to the quarterly citizen investment oversight committee meetings, which I do, you don't know what our city's doing. And so I can give a report out on that. I will be visible, I will be accountable, and I'll have an open door so people can come in and talk to me. I will also continue to attend all the commission meetings that I attend and be involved with this community. I see a lot of faces here that I recognize from Main Street, Kiwanis Club. Jimmy Knott's over there taking notes, and he shows up at all the council meetings. Diane Nygaard. So again, I will represent the people. I will be visible, and I will be there.
Thank you very much. Jack, you're going to get the last word here. What would you do differently than has been done in the past?
It's going to be different, not than just in the treasurer role, but in every role and in local government. And I heard Mayor Sanchez say this, I heard it said before about the youth. Why wasn't I asked about that? I mean, I'm the only one potentially qualified in this room, and let this sink in for a second, to speak about what the youth actually care about. You know, I just turned 30, okay? And I'm very proud to say that I'm going to technologically sophisticate this office. We don't have that right now. I'm going to implement a quarterly dashboard system. You all should be able to do this already. Other cities do it. You can put a zip code in on your phone or on your computer, and you can access our financial reports through this system that we're going to implement, and you can see exactly where the tax dollars came from and exactly where they went. That's going to be a great way to answer some of these huge prevailing questions you have about why aren't our streets paved? Why are the lights out? Why doesn't the Oceanside skate park have lights? You're going to be able to see that. That's true transparency.
Thank you very much, all four of you, and to our audience, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Before you all leave, we do have an opportunity now for each of the candidates to give a 2-minute summary of why you should vote for them, okay? And then, they're 2 minutes exactly, and if you're run over, then we're going to shut off the mics. Ryan, why don't you start?
You're in a unique position with the mayor's race. I've been on council almost 6 years. Our current mayor's been on council 24, almost. We've both been very vocal about our policies, what we agree on, what we disagree on, where we want to see the city go. Again, we're at a critical point in this city right now. It's been a frustration for me on council for having these decades of inaction, and we need to progress, we need to move forward. And whether that's addressing the homeless crisis and protecting our quality of life and addressing quality of life crime, building our beaches back, making sure our potholes are filled. Again, this is not, and I think you're seeing it across the country, this is not a job for me to be in the next 20 years. We're in here to make a difference, make some real substantial change, act like there's some urgency, and get it done. I encourage you, I'm not gonna tell anyone here to vote for me. I want you to go on our websites, see what we've said about all of these issues. 2 minutes is not enough time. Is this the direction you want our city to go in the next 4 years? And that's it. There's plenty of information about us. I'm not running for any other office. My family and I are going to be here for the foreseeable future, as my extended family is and my friends. I want to make Oceanside as great as we can for the next 4 years. That's it. Work as a team with our council. This is not about me. And that's the challenge we have. So many politicians across the country, all the way to the top, it's about ego and me. There's 5 of us. We need to have 3 of us agree on something and get something going forward. So when you keep hearing, I can't get a second for this, or I can't do that, that's our job to fix that. And why are we not able to come to a consensus? You expect more from your leaders. This is not a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. This is an Oceanside issue, and we're accountable to you to actually make some progress in the next few years. Instead of talk about it and say why we can't.
Thank you. Esther?
Thank you. I established the policies that made our city safer. I did that with community policing. And while we can't afford it at this time because we don't have enough officers, I do feel that we're going to get more officers and encouraged to have that community policing back. Vance Buchanan Park, El Corazon, Aquatic Center, the Prince Park, all these parks, all these things. I actually was the one that really pushed these projects forward. Also defended the rent control ordinance. I went out there and worked with the seniors to protect that. Also protecting Costa Serena's senior status. I've been out there. Oceana, getting their streets paved. I did that. Peacock Hills, I went out there and they said, you know what, we haven't had our streets paved in like 20 years. I went out and did that. Okay, there is so much that I've been able to do because I worked with the city manager, and I have worked with past councils. It's unfortunate that this council has been much more difficult, and you know, my opponent has had the majority and the supermajority. He's done nothing with that, nothing. So we have this opportunity to have a new council that is of the people and for the people. So yes, I am called the people's mayor. I am asking you to vote for me to re-elect me as mayor for the city of Oceanside. I love this city. I know that we can get a lot more done than just these 5 years that we basically have wasted. But at the very least, I did get pushed forward the homeless shelter. I did get pushed forward the first 100% wraparound
Mayor, you voted
services
no on homeless
housing
shelter every time.
property project. Homeless shelter, because we didn't have one before. That's the first one. So work with me, work with us. We're gonna get everything that needs to get done together. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Phyllis?
Okay, thank you again to OCNA for giving us this opportunity. As you've heard me say, this race is about trust and qualifications. I am qualified for this position, so I kind of like to focus on the trust piece. Oceanside has gone through a lot of changes. We've all seen them, we've all experienced them. We need a city treasurer who understands the city. We need somebody who's gone through these changes and can speak to what is the best way forward. So again, it's time for a change. We need somebody who's got the integrity, the experience, and the professionalism to bring Oceanside City Treasurer back into the state where it belongs, where we have the public trust. When I say it's time for a change, our current incumbent has been in there for 6 years. It's time for a change. And when I talk about community and trust, we need somebody who's really from the community, not somebody who's just rolled in the last few months saying he knows what's good for Oceanside. I know a career politician when I hear it, especially when they just ran for the 75th Assembly in East County. That's not even in Oceanside. So again, no more career politicians, no more tumbleweed politicians. Let's just send them back. I would be honored for your vote on or before November 5th, but the important thing is, please vote. These local elections have the most impact on our lives. It's great to get all excited about the federal, but local is where it matters. Investigate, look at us, look at our websites, talk to us, ask us questions. But again, please vote. Thank you, Phyllis Dominguez, and I'm running for Oceanside City Treasurer.
Thank you, Phyllis. Okay, hold your applause, please. Jack?
Yeah, it was good to see some of the Phyllis supporters here, because this is gonna go to you as well. So, I wanna tell you all that I'm Jack Fernandes, and when I have the opportunity to serve you as your next treasurer, it's gonna be an honor that I take very seriously. I was born and raised as a native in San Diego. I wasn't born in Oceanside. I chose to come to Oceanside, because I see the potential of what we have ahead of us. This is about a change. It's about modernization. So I'm going to tell you, my father came here to America speaking no English with no money, okay? True American dream story. He worked in a factory. My mother had a neurodegenerative illness. She was unable to walk, unable to work. And I pulled myself up through my community support. No one asked me where I was from, just like I'm not going to ask any of you, okay? When we have this opportunity ahead of us, it comes down to hard work. I have worked hard. I worked in a factory like my father. I worked as a deckhand. I sold my blood to be the first in my family to go to college. I went to law school at UCLA on a scholarship. I wrote onto Law Review. I was a senior editor on the Law Review. And I indulged and dreamt about tax esoterica for years. Finally, I have the opportunity to live out the quote of Ralph Waldo Emerson. The purpose in life is not to be happy. It's to be useful. It is to be useful. And I am proud to have this opportunity running a grassroots campaign. We've knocked on over 2,500 doors. That's what grassroots means to me. When I have the opportunity to serve you as your next treasurer, all of us have to step up. If we really want transparency, I need everybody, whatever political persuasion you are, reach out, visit jack4oceanside.com. This goes far beyond this election. So thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to meet you all. Please come up and talk to me afterward.
Thank you, Jack. Well, what an evening, huh? So I want to thank you all for your patience and following our rules. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank our wonderful candidates here, starting with Deputy Mayor Kiem, Mayor Sanchez, Dominguez, and Jack Fernandes. I want to thank Skip Coomer, huh?
All right.
No, very well done, thank you. I don't know how, it's a lot to do. You know, there's a lot of questions, a lot of emotion. But I really want to thank all of you for coming tonight, supporting OCNA, and also supporting our Oceanside process for getting disclosure and being able to vote in a way that makes sense for you. So one last thing, we have another meeting coming up before we wrap up for this year, and that is October 21st. We're going to have Michael Gossman, Assistant City Manager. He's going to talk to us about redirects, and we have another speaker that is TBD, so look for your green newsletters or on your email. If you signed in and given us your email, you will be put on our email list. And with that, I'd like to thank all the OCNA members for helping us out.
Good job, Jane March.
Oh.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you, candidate.